We're back. What a fantastic day. It's long. It's long already. And we are just almost at the beginning of so much wisdom. But today we spoke about mindfulness. We spoke about hope, forgiveness, about belonging in so many different levels, and now culture and diversity with Katie. And now we are gonna go right into health and well-being. So we have an amazing presentation now around strategies. So it's like, okay, we are ready, or maybe we are not, but what can we do now that we have COVID? And what's going to happen beyond? And what did we learn from the past about health and well-being? What strategies work? What strategies have to be developed? So for that, we have here a amazing Bill Ravenscroft, and from Have and Go. And he's going to be enlightening us about what do we do if we want to do something around health and well-being in a deep way. So here we are to learn from you. I know that you have a pretty good presentation, so thank you so much for being with us. And I leave you the floor. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you very much for the invite, and I look forward to sharing our ideas around health and wellness and how they're all connected together. So, technology better not fail me. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here with the app. Okay. So, I wanted to recap a little bit about the journey that we've been on. Obviously the world that we live in today looks absolutely nothing like the world we lived in 2019, and that's an understatement to say the least. But when you think about health and wellness, when you think about that critical element of well-being and belonging, they're absolutely connected to the mental health. Research has shown that over and over and over again that sense of belonging is a critical component to the ability to manage stress. And isolation only increases the stress and anxiety. So what are companies doing to alleviate that stress or to reduce that stress? So let's talk a little bit about what some companies are doing in this space. So first, they are looking at the challenge of the remote workforce in the workplace, because let's face it, how many of us had to set up offices in our kitchen or in our living room or our bedrooms or our, I saw garages and basements. We had to do what we had to do to make it work. And so first it was just setting up our own workplace, but it was nothing like what we had before. Second came the ability to monitor what our employees' health and productivity look like before you could see it. You got real-time feedback, sitting face-to-face with somebody. That human connection, human element became critical to the ability to manage the culture. But now that we're working in a virtual way, what's our next challenge, and how are we doing that? We still have them, a lot of these big corporate environments that had state-of-the-art gyms with yoga studios, and they had childcare centers, they had health centers. You go to the nurse on site or the doctor on site. You had workout facilities. You had cafeterias with world-class chefs and meals that were subsidized, and they were well-balanced meals, healthy meals. You had amazing spaces to get together and connect with your colleagues. And you had inspiring workspaces that allowed you to be creative and innovative and be able to connect with each other in ways that facilitated cultural strength within a company, but more importantly, the health and well-being of the employees. So this was all under the control of our companies before the pandemic. But that's not what we have today, clearly. We live and we work in the same place, and we're getting burnt out. That feeling of isolation is starting to take its toll on our mental health and our physical health. Our food choices, many of us have put on a few pounds, myself included, over the pandemic. because, you know, the stress has led to worse choices maybe in food. The children are learning in the same environment that their parents are working, and I think that's leading to you know, additional stress. And of course, the environment that we've created for these employees in the past has been ergonomically helpful for their health. Not like the picture in the lower right-hand corner, but thinking about where we are working as people now. I think that we do not have the luxury of having amazing home office spaces that give us the ability to make sure that we're physically taking care of our bodies at the same time. But that's going to change, and I really can see the future evolving and merging. It's going to be fused, where companies are taking the technology that's out there, and they are going to provide time within the day to work out, providing wellness classes, yoga classes, workout classes for the entire workforces in a remote way. They're going to provide for better work environments in their home. I think the equipment that was provided before, they know they need to reallocate that or find ways to provide that for the workers in their home offices. And they know that they need to provide a social construct, right? We still need that human element. We still need to be able to connect with our colleagues for that inspirational, innovative work session that we all need from time to time. And they know that they need to provide that in a designed manner. And then there's the element of food. I think this can't be understated. You know, companies were providing healthy options to a lot of their workers before, and this is super critical even now, where I think a lot of companies are showing innovation and wanting to partner with food prep companies, food kit companies, so that they can subsidize the meals at home and ship healthy meals to their employees, or provide options for them to purchase those meals on a discounted level, and be able to eat healthier and take care of themselves. So how that's all coming together is there's really 5 physical pillars that companies are looking at. And, you know, we can see that caregiving is taking its toll on the workforce. You know, more and more, whether it's the children at home, and it's also while you're working, the children are being at home, you had other caregiving responsibilities before. So now you're in the space where maybe your aging parent is also at. So it's taking its toll, and a lot of this has been imbalanced. Obviously, it's disproportionately affected female colleagues and female workers more than their male colleagues, and that's something that needs to be absolutely addressed. And the other thing is that we're seeing more mental health related healthcare claims than ever before because of the stress of isolation. And so employers that are at least making an effort to connect all of these 5 pillars through technology are starting to address these impacts and really creating an environment or a culture that'll be competitive in a remote way. So I want to tell you why this is important. If you haven't seen it already, the reason is that companies with good wellness strategies are achieving better results. And that comes through increased performance. So a much higher engaged workforce is a higher performing workforce. They're going to be absent fewer days over a course of a year than they would be if they're less engaged. And obviously you're going to retain them. 60% of 60% reduction rather in turnover where you have highly engaged and a strong wellness strategy in place. 2 times the engagement level. We're seeing actuary costs of our own client base, what we're seeing with some very innovative companies across the world, where they'll be able to reduce the costs of their workforce through wellness programs, and of course reducing the stress. 70% less or fewer employees who are stressed or highly stressed in their workforce. And so this isn't changing. In fact, I mean, if I could predict a role that's going to be on the rise, it's the chief wellness officer. There's no doubt that the role is becoming critically important. And as we start to work towards a virtual workforce, chief wellness officers in that position inside the company won't be a part-time role that's filled by someone in human resources that has a primary job somewhere else. It will be a critical function of large international companies who have to have a strategy around wellness. It's also going to be customized, absolutely customized by person, because age matters. The younger worker might need something very different than someone in their late 50s, early 60s in terms of health and wellness. Females may obviously have different needs than their male colleagues. Or if you're someone in a male who is a young male who's diabetic and overweight and absolutely needs to stop smoking, I mean, they obviously have a different journey than their female colleague who is preparing to run a triathlon. So let's customize the journeys. We have the data. We know that needs to be an important part of it. And so companies are going to incorporate these programs in a way that's meaningful to the individual, and not just simply put it on a shelf where they say that they've checked a box in wellness. And so I guess I'll leave you with this before we kind of have a little bit of a dialogue here, Lewis, is that the hybrid work of the future, it may flip-flop. Instead of having one day off a week where you're working remote on a Friday, I see maybe 4 days of working remotely and 1 day in the office. And I think that's going to be the new reality. Whether we have a vaccine in the near future or not, I think is not as relevant as the fact that the world of work is changing and the way we work is changing, and it's going to continue to change. And I think that health and wellness plans are no longer, like I said, an item that's sitting on a shelf. They're going to be part of the company's strategy, and they're going to be integrated parts of the strategy so that they're measuring the effectiveness that they're having on the productivity of the workforce and the culture. And finally, I absolutely know that the journeys will be customized. We all enjoy, as consumers, customized journeys with the companies that we buy product from in a virtual way. And there's no doubt that as employees, we're also going to have customized journeys with our employers, and they're going to treat them as individual journeys and not as a one-size-fits-all. So I would like to say those are the key takeaways, and I think that's really the future as it pertains to the world of wellness and corporate strategy in general.
Thanks so much, Bill. I couldn't agree more. I think this makes so much sense. Can we go a bit deeper? We have a minute on some cases. We know that so many companies are struggling right now because everybody is working from home. If you don't work from home, then some companies divide the company into blue team, green team. I mean, we are seeing so many ad hoc responses to this. So any ideas come to mind about what can we do from a practical point of view in order to say, let's focus on digital well-being, let's focus on mental health? What have you seen that is going on right now under COVID?
Yeah, so I think the cutting edge companies, the ones that are really being innovative in this moment, are using technology to create social platforms for their employees in ways. So I won't name names, but obviously we all know the large social platforms, but they're trying to recreate the social platforms using technology for their own culture. And that's where that sense of well-being and mental health come together. So you and I, if we work at the same company and we look forward to having lunch 3 or 4 times a week and sharing stories, that need still is there. And so companies are looking to provide for that space. They have to fill that space. And if they don't, they're leaving it up to the employees to fill that space in other ways. And so I think that's the ones that are solving it right now are using technology, and they're using it in creative ways to give them the water cooler talk, to give them the cafeteria conversations, to give them that space in between the meetings that allow for them to be engaged and learn from each other and share their journeys together, because that leads to the connection and takes away that issue of isolation. But the top companies are doing it, and they're using the technology, and they're using their wellness programs to facilitate it.
Um, would you link, and how do you link? So is the first thing, does it make sense to link? And then if it makes sense or not, how do you do it? Well-being and wellness and health and mental health to performance, to the top and bottom line. Is this something that as manager we have to push, or this is something like, well, you don't need to measure? Eh, what do you do here?
Yeah, listen, there's no bigger connection to the mental health and well-being of the workforce and their productivity. There's an absolute connection, and research has consistently shown this over time, that the mental well-being of an individual is directly contributed or directly correlated with their belonging and their mental health. So it all goes together. I mean, no simpler story than our childhood when you attend a new school and you're sitting down at lunch for the first time, is finding a spot in the cafeteria to have lunch. Who do you have lunch with? That feeling of belonging is there immediately, and it's innate. It's a human feeling. It's a human need. And so companies realize this, and the top performing companies realize this the most. And they're using the technology, and they're using different platforms to link them all together. And they're doing it ad hoc today, clearly, but there's technology out there that allows you to purchase them in one place and measure the effectiveness of all of these different initiatives in one place, and to see that ROI. And so, I think you're going to see in the next year, I think next year, by the time that you have the next summit, you're going to have some great business cases that are going to show some fantastic results where people have integrated all of these facets together.
Well, thank you so much, Bill. It was super interesting. I recommend everybody to go deeper into Have and Go, the work that you are doing in so many countries. I know the work in Mexico and Spain, especially. And we had a really nice conversation around the work in Mexico a few weeks ago during a webinar, because in Mexico now companies have to adopt some regulations, and now they are really forced to measure.
Yeah.
The job, the work that you are doing and Have and Go is fantastic. So I love it. And I encourage everybody to go deeper and to understand how technology and platforms can really help to bring not just the alignment to the organization and internal communications, but actually health and wellness on steroids, I would say. Yeah. So thank you so much, Bill, for your contribution to this dialogue on belonging and how we unlock the power of belonging and well-being and health. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. Take care, Luis. Thank you.
Take care.